right, you guys can go this way.
I'm letting you go through. You're
All
a award
right.
winner, man.
This is insane that we're walking through all this stuff.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. You guys ever wrestled an Oscar winner before?
We can right now.
How do I get to the bar, guys?
All right, let's do this thing.
Welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you, whether you want to cut any cords or not, whether you want to fray them or never have them, can learn how to watch what you want, when you want, where you want, on whatever device you please. My name is Tom Merritt.
Hey, man, my name is Brian Brushwood, and our house sigil is the frayed cord. My bannermen
cord.
get around me. Hey, man.
It's a 30-ohm coaxial cable split and pulled apart and pinned down.
Hey, man, that opening video was a dude who faked having an Oscar on Oscar night. He got a replica Oscar, went around, and the entire world was his best friend. And what's funny is, like, he felt real guilty. At one point, he goes into a convenience store, just gets a bunch of stuff, stands there. They're like, "Is that an Oscar?" Like, "Yeah, I want it tonight." And then he's like, "Okay." He's like, "I left my wallet somewhere else." And the owner's like, "Just take it. It's fine."
For Oscar winners.
Then he goes to a bar, gets free drinks. Then he goes to a valet stand and vaguely describes his car and apologizes for not having the ticket. And they pull around a car matching the description. He
Like an episode of Hacking the System
Yes, it was amazing. And the weird part was the justification at the end he gave. He says, "Yeah, I felt really guilty, but at some point, I became drunk with making everyone happy because everyone who actually won the Oscars is not walking up and down Hollywood Boulevard meeting these people. These people felt like they met an Oscar winner." And of course, he left out the bitter disappointment as they all found out that they were lied to.
Yeah, it's a harsh hangover there. Well, joining us today, hopefully without a harsh hangover, is Alex Hanna, a.k.a. Tinvec, in the chat room. If you ever hang out in our irc.cordkillers.com chat room. How's it going, Alex?
Hey, it's going pretty good. How are you doing today?
We are doing well. Thank you for jumping in on the Cordkillers. You can find Alex on many fine podcasts, including Diamond Dialogue.
That's definitely. You may recognize some faces from that one, but
Well, so what's the elevator pitch for Diamond Dialogue? How do you explain it to people who don't know anything?
getting to know chat realm. That's simple sentence. It's a 10 to 15 minute interview show of getting to know the people of chat realm, including the hosts this season.
Right
I was
on.
just on this weekend, Brian.
Dang it! I'm coming up soon.
You got to
Better hurry.
Yeah.
All right, let's get right to our primary target. Got some good news for cable TV. Got some bad news for cable TV. Good news is pay TV subscriptions overall rose 101,000 last quarter, mostly from satellite and telephone companies. DirecTV and Dish added 86,000 subs. Telcos added 185,000 subs. Cable operators lost 170,000 subs, but overall, 101,000 added. That's a slight decline in total subscriptions year over year of 0.1%, but that's just flat, right? Yes, until you talk to Craig Moffett, who is an analyst, who points out for the past 3 years, as the subscriptions have been declining, the cable operators have been saying, yes, but there's a recession and a housing crisis, and of course cable is going to have a hard time keeping pace because there aren't as many households. Craig Moffett points out, well, there was a study from USC's Lusk Center for Real Estate that found that household formation has recovered to pre-recession levels of 1 million per year. And Craig Moffett did some math and said if you account for new household formation and how many subscriptions should have been added, given how many new households there are, generally if there's a new household, they're likely to add cable, roughly 1.4 million American households either canceled pay TV over the trailing 12 months or never subscribed, which would be horrible news for pay TV subscribers, Brian.
Yeah, so here's the thing. For all of you out there right now thinking, typical cord killers. 1 week, it's everyone's cutting the cord. Next week, it's nobody's cutting the cord. Accurate. You're 100% right, and it ain't our fault that that's the news cycle. However, I do want to point out that Moffett used to be somebody who denied that there was such a thing as a cord-cutting revolution. And then later, about 2 years ago, he sort of looked at the numbers and reversed his decision on that. I think this is a brilliant insight on it, and it gives a new lens to view all such future announcements under, where it's like every time they say, oh, we only increased this amount, it's important to put it in the context of what should it have been. If it was 1980 and we built 1.5 million new houses, you better believe 1.4 million of those would have had cable installed. And the fact is, we don't live in that world anymore. I think this is a great insight and a new way to really look at things.
Alex, what do you make of this? A couple of anecdotes out of this. Cablevision subscriptions fell 4.7%, which, as I mentioned, cable operators overall lost 170,000 subs, but that's the 10th straight quarter of declines for Cablevision, even though they remain profitable. And Suddenlink just dropped Viacom October 1st. They're like, we're not going to pay them anymore. They want too much money. And they lost 34,800 subs in Q4. That's 4 times higher than 2013. And yet they're still profitable.
Yeah, and I guess the profits come from it's so damn expensive, right? Because you don't see so many people signing up, and so where are these profits coming from? And again, Brian was totally right. If this were the 80s, you better bet that we'd be seeing a cable increase along with the increase in the housing market. But it's not. I haven't had cable for 8-10 years, and I love it. I would never go and get cable again.
Well, and I think part of the profits, too, come from the fact that a lot of the infrastructure is a sunk cost. Cable operators are not rolling out a ton of new infrastructure, and that's the biggest cost. Obviously, there's cost of maintenance. There's cost of operation, for sure. It's not entirely cheap to run a cable system, but they're not out there building the networks like they were in the 80s and 90s. And so they're able to coast on that. I almost think, Brian, that's a dangerous situation for them to be in, because they're hoping that they can continue to just coast on that because there's not a whole lot of competition out there. And the competition is turning out to be the internet. And we're really they're fooling themselves if they don't look at this and see the same things that Moffat saw.
I mean, again, look, they already know. They absolutely know. We've talked about this on the show. I absolutely am convinced that every one of those cable operators, every board of directors, every analyst working for them knows where we are headed with this. Their goal is not to stop it. Their goal is to look good enough that they can maintain this illusion long enough and meanwhile start integrating high bandwidth opportunities with their cable packages, and then start working on the idea that if you have cable, you now have access to AMC and to the CBS feed, all of these things by authenticating. They're going to double down on authentication. They're going to be blowing up their and there's a letter we're going to get to that I'm getting distracted thinking about that involves them continuing their game of, we'll give you cheaper internet if you just shut up and say you'll take cable. They don't even care if you actually even watch cable anymore. The letter we're going to read later, the guy says, don't bother to send me the box, and they're like, well, if you do take the box, we'll give you a deeper discount and we'll waive the box fee. And he's like, well, that's fine, it's just going to sit in the closet. They're like, we don't care. They understand what they need to do is hold on for 2, maybe 3 more years with this illusion that everything's fine. And then there's just going to switch is flipped, and they're going to act like they invented the idea of giving up physical cable and doing everything over the internet. Guarantee it.
I think the thing that might undermine them there is that is all predicated on the fact that more people like our emailer will do that, which, we get a lot of anecdotal stories about that happening, but I wonder how sustainable that is. That only satisfies the shareholders. It actually costs them money, and they can't continue to do that forever. And that implies that really the only thing they have to worry about is people using BitTorrent or Hulu and Netflix. And I don't think that's their competitor. I don't think that's the main competitor. I think the main competitor is having the internet to entertain you in whatever way. In every single way, browsing blogs, looking at YouTube videos, playing video games, all of the entertainment options are eating into cable. And cable, I think a lot of people in the cable TV industry do understand that. But that is harder to deal with than just a straight head-to-head competition.
Yeah, I do agree that it's not a flat-out black and white issue. But as far as I mean, 6 of one, half dozen another, as far as the cable companies are concerned, right? Like, are they really worried about whether or not blogs are taking away their traffic or YouTube is? It's at the end of the day.
Maybe they should be.
Well, if y'all are out there reading, we sound like old men of the internet. You're like, why does nobody read blogs anymore?
Well, no, but it's to me, it's not about blogs per se. It's that people start to realize, oh, you know what? I just don't spend that much time watching television anymore. Maybe I don't need that cable.
Well,
that's
certainly not
the insidious one, not just the like, oh, I watch Hulu and Netflix.
So let me propose this to you, Alex. A huge part of me growing up, and this will be very difficult for anyone under the age of 30 to comprehend or wrap their mind around, but there was a sense I felt as a child that every second that any television was turned off, that any moment that the house was dark, I felt isolated and disconnected from the world. And now we live in a world where social media is kind of ever pervasive. We carry around many supercomputers on us at all times. We are connected emotionally to anyone and everything, you know, within seconds. I guarantee when Leonard Nimoy died, I bet more people found out faster than possibly any single person in history, you know, from the announcement to everyone knowing. My guess is that because we have that connection, we don't feel the need to have the always on, and I'm sorry for this term, but diarrhea television, where it's just constantly going and going and going. And it's like, you know, well, it's on, so if anything important happens, I'm going to know about it, which is what we did back before the internet. Do you think that's what contributes to this ability to turn off the television, to look at it as appointment viewing and not as your lifeline to the rest of society?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as you're explaining it, I was thinking just that because, you know, I'm in my early 30s too, and I grew up with the same, you know, regular television, and now we're evolving into this on demand and watching video on demand come through its phases, and now we're to the point where I don't need the internet, you know, and I agree the same way that you feel disconnected when you don't have that TV on or whatever. But with the internet, I have, you know, some way to interact with people, and with my phone I can do the same thing because it is the internet in my pocket, and like, you know, it's 1,000 times better than a Palm Pre, and you know, so there's just so many ways that we can reach out and connect with people now that it makes that need for TV less and less, because we want to get outside or go over to a friend's house, or you know, these other things that we wouldn't necessarily have had time to do even without the technology we have now. So
all right, real quick, for the record, I want to amend my term for this kind of television. Let's call it waterfall television. It's background white noise that is constantly flowing that you want to turn on. And the reason I like that term better is because there is a type of programming where you don't really care which episode it's on. You just want them to keep coming. I think like HGTV, Your Addiction, Tom, is like that, where it's like you just want to turn on the waterfall and have that be in the background.
Yeah, that and Universal Sports Television lately, both on Sling TV, I've been doing that, where it's like, oh, I'll just put this on, which I haven't done that in a long time, because when you go into DirecTV or Comcast, you are faced with great floods of like, oh, I have to make a choice now, and that's the one thing we don't want to do with television anymore. We don't want to make a choice.
And truthfully, I don't think we ever did. I think that's part of the reason that people think about the good old days of only 3 networks. It's like, back then you didn't have to, you know, fill out paperwork to decide which channel you wanted to watch. You just turned on the television. And if you didn't get that channel, then too bad for you. So I don't know. I feel like there could be a return to that. And I also feel like we kind of got off topic on this. I apologize.
Yeah, but it's all on topic generally in Cordkillers. And I think that's what this show is about. This show is about giving you perspective on how you consume your entertainment, whether it's here are the numbers of pay TV subscribers and how that might eventually affect your choices for what you view, because if cable TV starts shifting into more TV anywhere, or they provide internet only services, then suddenly you have more choices to watch things, all the way down to like, how do we watch TV? What do we want out of TV? How does Alex use TV when he doesn't have a cable TV subscription? And what are you missing if you don't have a cable TV subscription? And that's why we thank every one of our 2002 patrons who help make this show possible and let us do that for you every week.
Heck yeah, man. Keeping us loud, live, and independent. It's 2002 of you guys. And I don't mean to be a fearmonger or nothing, But, we rode an initial wave of excitement on Cordkillers. And now, there's a few people who get the monthly bill. They're like, oh, I overpledged, and they correct their pledge. And that's fine. And that makes a lot of sense. Other people, their credit cards go out, and they're like, oh, I never got around to re-signing up or whatever. However, I believe for the first time since we launched, we dipped under $2,000 an episode, which it'd be real rad if you're on the fence and you're thinking about like, I would like to, this show is worth 25 cents, 50 cents, maybe even $1. Then by all means, please feel free to sign up. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. That's patreon.com/Cordkillers, because 25 cents an episode may not mean nothing to you, means the world to us, because we're looking at 10, 15,000 of you guys every episode. Everyone throws a nickel our way. We're sitting pretty and could keep doing it forever.
Yeah, if you get 25 cents worth of entertainment and information out of today's episode, and you have that 25 cents to spare, please consider giving it to us. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's move on to signals intelligence. These are the signals that bring you the shows that you want to watch.
Oh man, I thought you were going to say they're the signals that bring you intelligence.
These are the signals that bring you intelligence.
Perfect.
They might bring intelligence to your children. We're talking about two different streaming services for kids. Remember, we talked about YouTube Kids last week. Now we've got Nickelodeon's streaming service, Noggin, which is aimed at preschoolers, launching March 5th for $6 a month. Might even be made available to TV subscribers as what they're calling a premium complement, which sounds like it might be free, but also sounds like they might charge you extra. I'm not sure. But this is a lot of Nickelodeon content, things like Blue's Clues, Little Bear, Ni Hao Kailan, some Moose and Z stuff, if you're familiar. Not included are some of the big Nick Jr. names. Things like Dora, Bubble Guppies are not in there. So it's not everything. That's still in the Nick Jr. app. They're trying to make this for the cord cutting set, I believe. And then Netflix is adding a bunch of kid shows. Inspector Gadget, which is a European reboot that Netflix is acquiring for the US market, is coming in March, 26 episodes. Super 4, which is a CGI series inspired by Playmobil toys, coming in April. And then in 2016, Netflix is going to reboot Danger Mouse with Stephen Fry as Colonel K, bring us Botter Snikes and Gumbles, which is based on the same books, and Some Assembly Required, which is a show about a toy shop. And Amazon's even greenlighting new seasons of their original kids shows, Tumbleleaf, Creative Galaxy, Androids, and Gordimer Gibbon's Life on Normal Street. So, Brian, you got tons of options for your kids.
Yeah, Tom, look, here's the thing. I'm not going to lie. I have an interest in watching a lot of content that exists and lives online. I really would like to watch even more than I do, but considering it is literally my job to watch Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, all of these for the new shows, the amount of consumption that happens with the kids, it is nonstop Netflix right now. It is nonstop Amazon Prime. They are starving for content and they cannot get enough. Noggin, I think, is a fantastic channel. Every time we visit the grandparents, that's all the 2-year-old watches is Noggin. I'd be curious, given the nature of how people use Noggin, and this is not an indictment of parents who plug their children in front of the television. I think there's a place for that, a responsible number of hours. But I'm going to bet there's like a nonstop mode in the Noggin app for kids where it just keeps playing, because my one gripe, my 2-year-old loves Wild Kratts. She can't handle the 15 seconds where it appears nothing's happening when one episode ends and the other one is counting down before it loads up. She starts crying, she starts pressing everything and then closing the app automatically. And I think that if the purpose is you're going to put it on an iPad and hand it to your 2 or 3-year-old, then I think that Noggin should have it, like, it just keeps going. It'll keep them occupied and engaged for as long as you want. And also, this is a fascinating point about the Inspector Gadget and the Danger Mouse stuff. No child, nobody under the age of 10 has any idea who those are, Inspector Gadget or Danger Mouse. However, their Gen X parents most certainly know who they are, and they're the ones paying for Netflix. And I think it's brilliant that they went with this. And that, by the way, is not my observation. That's from the folks over at TechCrunch, which I thought was dead on the money. Because I'm not going to lie, my daughter's name is Penelope, partly because we loved the association of the name Penny with the character from Inspector Gadget, and we wanted her to be like that.
I didn't realize that was part of it. That's cool.
Part. But at any rate, smart moves across the board. I think this is where the real money is. I would not normally. I believe it was rumored at a $5.99 standalone channel. I don't know that
for the Noggin. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
for the
Noggin
Noggin.
is launched for $5.99 a month. I don't even think that's a rumor. I think that's for real.
Okay, all right. Man, I don't know that I'm going to go out of my way to pay $5.99 a month, but if somebody were to confirm for me that there was a nonstop mode, I think I might do that for a year or so for my youngest. I think this is all brilliant. I think that's the real market that they need to cater to anyone who has the money and just wants the convenience of their kids being able to watch all this entertainment at all times.
Yeah, I got to find this out. Alex, I don't. Do you have kids?
I don't. So this doesn't terribly appeal to me, but it kind of looks like Nickelodeon's Me Too thing to YouTube's and Netflix's kids only areas. So
I'm trying to find if it actually does the it doesn't. They don't give enough details.
Yeah,
to
well,
tell if it
and
does
also
the media
keep in
play.
mind that's also
a really good point though. That's the kind of thing you should be out there trumpeting in your press release at the very top. Like, hey guys, no more crying while you wait for buffering. If that were the case.
Well, and I don't know. Part of me could also see that maybe that's a little bit tipping your hand too much, where you're sort of clearly indicating that, look, we know why you get Noggin. It's to shut your kids up for 20 minutes while you're able to cook dinner. And so maybe it would make sense for them to not blow that up. But also keep in mind, this is me just imagining what I hope it will be. But given that audience, it would make sense. It's not like, people are really trying to decide between one furry animal or another furry animal. They're all just furry animals.
All right. Let's leave the furry animals to the side for the moment and gear up instead. This is the segment of the show where we talk about set-top box stuff, mostly. Sometimes remotes. It's the devices. The devices that let you watch your stuff. And this is a really interesting story to me that may not sound interesting at first, but I'll explain why it intrigues me anyway. A cloud virtualization provider called Active Video released some stats about a test case they did in Hungary with a cable provider called UPC Hungary, where they added YouTube to a cable TV set-top box, but not in the way you would think. They didn't put an app on the box. The box can't even run apps. So how did they add YouTube to it? Well, they're a cloud virtualization provider. So they streamed YouTube to the box, read the normal remote button pushes as if they were instructions to the app, and on the cloud side did all of the navigation of YouTube, but it's all streamed. It's basically like Gaikai or any of those video game streaming services.
On live.
Or on live, exactly. Here's what they found out. 200,000 of the 910,000 subscribers to Hungary or to UPC Hungary got it first, and then an additional 320,000 got it in the following months. Of those people, 68% tried it once, and 83% of the people who tried it became repeat users. They were averaging 1 million minutes a day and an average session among the users of 45 minutes. So it was like, maybe 2/3 of them would bother to try that weird YouTube thing. But once they got in, they were hooked and they were watching almost an hour.
Well, and keep in mind also that the on-live streaming, cloud streaming process or whatever would not just be streaming the actual content. It's not like they used a clunky local menu to decide X, Y, or Z, and then it would stream the video. Instead, it was like even the menu commands. They would go up, up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start, and it would virtualize what that menu should look like and stream it back, which is a fantastic and brilliant way to take old, let me point out, standard definition boxes and bring the YouTube experience to them. This is the kind of place where it could be, for whatever reason, you have an entire generation that's not going to use YouTube for in its traditional way. They don't have laptops, but there's this new thing called YouTube, and they click on it, and before they know it, they're looking at funny cat videos or news programs or, raw feeds from whatever. In other words, here's what I strongly suspect, is I suspect that this is a story less about the success of the streaming capability, less about the strength of YouTube as a lean-back experience, and more a story about bringing YouTube to a demographic that I suspect very likely had not dived into YouTube before.
Alex, what do you gather from this story? Are we just being overexcited about this?
No, well, I think it's really interesting. But the thing that struck me is this is freaking brilliant. Like, I'm a web developer as well, so I know, I do a lot of stuff with APIs and everything. But they're basically taking your remote and translating it into a YouTube API, and then piping that signal right back to you. That's a piece of like brilliant technology right there. I can't even imagine how they thought up to do that.
It's also extremely forward thinking, and part of this, understand it, it's definitely covered by the fact that I just read the latest book from the authors of Abundance called Bold, and one of the things they point out is that geometric progression is something that humans have a very hard time wrapping their minds around, and that there are business startups. If you're starting a business right now, built into your business plan should be the assumption that computing power is free and unlimited, that storage is free and unlimited, and that bandwidth is free and unlimited. And this is the type of application of that, the early adoption of that attitude where it's like, no, why have a computer? If you want YouTube, we'll just give you YouTube and we'll figure out a clever way to get it to you.
Yeah, it's the old Sun versus IBM battle, which is remote computing or local computing. And I don't think we'll ever have a final answer on it, but I also don't think we need one. There are situations like this, for instance, where remote computing is going to be amazing and it's going to do amazing things. And I don't know, I really was fascinated. I was mostly fascinated with the idea, because you're absolutely right, Alex and Brian, that the technology is amazing. But this idea that people who probably wouldn't have ventured to get YouTube, or even better, people who already knew how to get to YouTube, were so willing to, like, yeah, if I could just do it with my remote, I'm going to watch it.
I would love to see the actual menus and how kludgy it is, because obviously the most difficult part is doing the left, 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 right, 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 right to hunt and peck on a keyboard. Do we have video? It looks like Bryce is maybe pointing at something here.
I mean,
we have the case study here.
Oh, the case study? Is this a video thing, or this is? Oh, this is the actual PDF. I gotcha.
Yeah, the UI looks like if you've used like a console version.
Okay.
Like standard
okay.
YouTube.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's
That's right.
pretty slick,
So
actually.
it's like
that's
it brought
better than the TiVo app.
Yeah. So it basically ends up taking your clunky Scientific Atlanta whatever box and making it look as though you have an Xbox all of a sudden, which I would imagine would be fairly popular.
Yeah, that's going to make a big difference, bringing you in, that if it was some fuzzy, standard def, clunky, ugly looking thing, that looked pretty nice. I mean, and I'd be curious to see what it actually looks like on a television in Hungary too. But obviously it looked good enough to get 83% of the people who tried it to keep coming back.
Well, and that's the other thing, real quick. I know we're trying to wrap up, but it's like, that's what I love, is the fact that we live in a world not of speculation, not of analysts. We've got hard numbers. We have a case study. We have a fact where we showed it to these people, and a unbelievable adoption rate occurred. It's clear that we're onto something here, which means you can move faster. And again, do me a favor, read Bold, read Abundance. Those books are amazing. They'll get your head in this space.
And then once you're done with those, read Citadel 32, an inspiring new novella by me.
Hey, Tom, how many of your books are on audiobook yet? Because I'm an audiobook junkie. I want to throw money at your face, and I want to consume all your books. What would it take? Can we do like a Kickstarter to get all your books
Brian,
on?
No. I put all of them on audio. The only ones that I haven't are the last two because I didn't have time.
Wait, where do I go to get the audiobook?
You click on audio under the book
Dang
at
it.
TomHerrittBooks.com and it's free.
Wait a minute. What? Wait.
Yeah, Lot Beta and Events of a Different Nature are not on audiobook, but United Moon Colonies is, Boiling Point is.
Who reads these?
I do.
Okay.
But I don't have an audiobook for Citadel 32. So if you want an audiobook for that, you have to wait for me to finally get around to recording it.
Has it always been this way, and I never thought to ask?
Yeah.
Dang it. I'm so happy that I asked today. This is the best day ever.
Yeah. I mean, these books, I write them for fun. I do national novel writing every month, and then I work with an editor friend of mine who I've known forever, and we try to polish him up into something interesting. And I feel like they're getting better every time. I felt like Lot Beta was the first one that was actually readable, and Citadel 32, I think, is at least as readable. And the idea behind Citadel 32 is that it's science fiction. Part of the story takes place on the moon, at a base that has been cut off from Earth, which had an apocalyptic event happen. And they're biding their time, hoping the Earth gets its stuff back together so they can reconnect. And down on Earth, there's a monk in post-apocalyptic Earth who's discovering some interesting things that might lead him to understanding that these myths about men on the moon might actually have something to them. So anyway, if that sounds like an interesting story to you, it's available at TomMerrittBooks.com. There's a free PDF if you just want to pull it down and read it. You can do that. There's a Kindle version that you can get. There's a print version you can get. There's an EPUB version you can get. And there'll be more versions for Nook and iBooks and stuff coming as those arrive. I will add those links to TomMerrittBooks.com.
Tom, I am grinning ear to ear. You don't realize, like, I listened to Andrew Mayne talk about Angel Killer for 2 or 3 years, really intending to get around to reading it, and then finally it hit mass market publication, and the audiobook came out, and I listened to it that weekend, and it was like, oh my God, I'm like your biggest fan now, Andrew Mayne. And so now I can't wait for that to happen with your books, because I'm actually going to get to dive in now.
Well, now I got to get the other ones that I haven't gotten around to recorded, but I will. For sure.
All right.
Now I have extra motivation to do.
Heck yeah, man.
All right. We have arrived at the front lines, my friend.
I bet nothing interesting's happening at the front lines.
Except for war.
Front lines.
Hold
on. You want to give that another take? I don't know why that didn't play. Oh, wait.
Front lines.
Yeah.
There we go.
Nobody
Thanks,
caught
Sarge. Hey, in January, YouTube's top 100 channels received 14.7 billion views, up from 7 billion a year ago. Brian, your hot take.
I'm going to take an extension in advance on this because when I first read this, I was like, the top 100 channels doubled over the last year. I was like, well, how did Scam School do? Full disclosure, Scam School is one of the top 1,000 channels on YouTube, and also Brian has an inferiority complex. So we immediately checked year over year. Scam School's done all right. It's done like 20 or 30% increase year over year. But I was like, how on earth could they have doubled? And then I reread the headline, and it says YouTube's top 100 channels in 2014 at this year or in this month were 7 billion, and now YouTube's top 100 channels are 14 billion. Not the same 100 channels. So this is there's a bias because somewhere there'll be breakouts, and the breakouts always go to the top. So this is great news for YouTube, but not necessarily an indication that all of YouTube's best and brightest are making money hand over fist and exploding in popularity.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a deceptive. And if we have that wrong, let us know. But I don't think we do. I think Brian's right. It's the top 100 channels right now
versus the top 100 last year.
Their views over the past year, which is still an interesting stat.
Oh,
Alex,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just it's a measuring stick of YouTube to say that, hey, these videos that get popular, they get real popular now. So when they hit those top 100s, everybody's going to be watching them. And so that's what people are going to be shooting for. And that's kind of what people have started framing YouTube as, too, is the place to go viral and the place to hit those notes of viral success, I guess.
Yeah, one of those big blow-ups is some of the unboxing videos out there, because obviously that's a whole genre that has exploded, and whoever's on the front lines gets to jump right ahead. Let me move forward to some miserable news. Aereo, our good friend, Ched Kanoja, was hoping to make at least $4 million auctioning off its assets, but only made $2 million. It sounds like TiVo bought the name, somebody else bought the equipment, and everything's being sold for scrap parts. Does this make you sad or happy, or do you even care, Alex?
I'm a little sad to kind of see Aereo being picked over like a corpse by a bunch of vultures. Like it's kind of sad. I wanted this scrappy little company to stick it to the man and get us all TV that anybody feels like watching can for, Netflix prices. But, I guess maybe the only solace I can take is perhaps the technology will carry on one day in some other form and reincarnated, or I don't know, something.
Yeah, I think the saddest part of this news for me anyway, and I'll take a mini extension, is that this actually is an indicator that Aereo's technology was not very valuable. That Aereo's technology was very good at getting around the rules in order to provide this service. But if the Supreme Court has said you can't use this technology to get around the rules, then nobody really wants it.
Man, I would hate to even conjecture this kind of thing in a public forum, but one of the emails that we got was people saying that based on the wavelength of HD signals, there's no way a single dime-sized antenna alone would be effective to receive the signal. It's only all of them.
Some people said that, and
aggregate.
some people disputed that, and there were smart peoples on both sides. But what this says is whether it was true or not, doesn't matter. Nobody thought it was that useful.
Yeah. Although it seems like if a dime-sized antenna would work as well as aerial signal was, we'd see more of those built into televisions by now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're still buying them Leafs, though. Hey, man, on February 26th, the UK
Whoa. YouTube posted the winners of its 2015 Music Awards, and instead of doing a live awards show, it's going to release brand new videos from some of the winners on March 23rd at 10 a.m.
This is awesome. I think this is a brilliant thing. This is YouTube accepting its destiny, understanding that you should stop pretending to be MTV because you're not MTV. You're something better than MTV. You are your own unique format. Embrace your own format. And this is the kind of thing, like, you promised me that I'm going to get like a new Beyonce video, a new OK Go video, a new whatever video, all premiering at the same time at this place. I am tuning in live for sure.
2NEJ, Alt J, Hunter Hayes, Lindsey Sterling, Ariana Grande. I mean, seriously, this is big.
Well,
like, you're not kidding when you said Beyonce, right? Alex, care? No care?
Can I be the one that stands up against more awards shows?
But that's what they're not doing. An awards show. They just like, here's the award winners. Now we're gonna get some videos from them.
Okay. Well, in that case, I can, and on that note too, I can say it's good for YouTube to have these things because that's kind of a coming of age thing. It shows that you've been there and you've put in your time and you've done your thing. But as long as it's not an award show, I'm all with it.
I don't even mind if it is an award show. Look, in a world where people will tune in to watch other people watch another show, because Justin and I did the WrestleMania, the WWE Fastlane watch show, and then we did Hacking the System watch parties. I think that's going to be the next big thing, by the way, live streams of people watching other people's stuff. I could totally see YouTube hosting a party and blowing up these new videos right as they come out, man. There's something about the electricity of live. That's what we've been missing from online content.
But that's not what this will be. It will not be a award show, and it will not be live, just to be clear.
All right. but certainly it'll create that feeling. That's all that matters. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, my wife works at YouTube. Disclosed. What else?
Also, on February 26th, the UK's Culture, Media and Sport Committee said it doesn't see, quote, a long-term future for the license fee that funds the BBC and would prefer a flat broadcasting levy similar to what is collected in Germany. And I'm sorry, Tom, this is the only story I didn't get to read. What is the flat broadcasting levy that is similar to what's collected in Germany?
So if I understand it right, in Germany, everybody, if you have a household, you pay a fee. Doesn't matter what your income is, how many people are in the household, whether you own a TV or not, you just pay a fee. And so they know exactly how much money is going to the German broadcaster. So they're recommending that. Other people say, well, that's not fair. We should do it income-based, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the idea is that you'd actually make more money and charge people less because everybody would pay it. Nobody would say, like, well, I don't pay for a TV. So some people would pay more, obviously. But this way you would cover everything. Because right now, if you say, well, I only watch old shows on iPlayer, I never watch the live stream, then you don't have to pay your license fee.
Right on.
There you go. Hey, Telltale Games are working on an original series with a world-class creative partner, quote unquote, that will be a, quote, super show, half game, half TV show. And Telltale also coincidentally just got a bunch of money from Lionsgate.
Look, I ain't worried about that. All I know is that Telltale has an extraordinary track record for their interactive video game storytelling. I just realized that the Game of Thrones episode 1 is already out. I thought that The Walking Dead has been exceptional in every. I don't know.
So what from Lionsgate would you? What creator that works with Lionsgate do you think they could end up with?
Man,
that's what I'm speculating.
This is how little I pay attention to this stuff. Lionsgate is. Do they do the Lord of the Rings? Or what do they do?
The Hunger Games.
Oh, Hunger Games. Okay, well, maybe a Hunger Games spin-off TV show. But regardless,
but it's not going to be a spin-off. It's original.
That's fine.
There might be spin-offs too.
I mean, I trust Telltale to tell amazing stories, and if it's on television and in a game simultaneously, all the better. Hey man, Netflix is launching in Australia and New Zealand on March 24th on any Netflix app, along with several partnerships with ISPs to stop folks from exceeding their data caps. What do you suppose that means by
Zero rating? That's
Okay.
pretty typical in Australia and New Zealand because most people have data caps. So a lot of services will do zero rating where they'll say, hey, we've partnered with your ISP, so it doesn't count against your data cap.
I mean, how long does that need to be the fix? Tim Beck, Alex, do you really worry about exceeding your data cap? Do you have a data cap?
I do on mobile. Obviously on desktop, I don't. But so I guess if I watched a lot of stuff on mobile, the only time I really even come close to exceeding it is on when I'm traveling, because otherwise I'm on Wi-Fi all the time. And
Yeah, we're not talking about mobile. We're talking about data caps on people's home accounts.
Yeah.
For New Zealand and
by the
Australia.
way, I don't know if you remember back in 2010, that's what we were all terrified of, and that's why we're still fighting net neutrality. So,
Well, and it's been typical in Australia and New Zealand to have data caps for years and years and years. So that's actually, to me, less part of the story. That's more of like, hey, New Zealanders and Australians who are interested in this, if you're worried about data caps, they are doing some partnerships. But more, it's about like, hey, you won't have to VPN anymore to get Netflix. You could actually get a legit version of it, although it won't have all the same shows from the
I'll tell you what all of this makes me think of is, and I might be misremembering the exact nature of the law, but for years, the feds had regulated interstate highway travel speeds or whatever, and then they gave that up in the early 90s, and all of a sudden every state was able to decide their own speed limits. And in Texas, the story was, I don't know if this is true, but that it was required that they make the speed limit what 80% of the people were already driving anyway. So they would go and they were like, yeah, it says 55. Everyone's doing 70. Can we just make it 70? And then they made it 70. I feel like in so many ways, this is what we're seeing with, it's like, whether it's legal or not, everybody's on VPN using all their bandwidth to watch Netflix. And at some point, it sort of implies that, okay, we need to work out a deal and make Netflix available here.
Yeah, it's definitely, Netflix knows how many people are using their service over VPN from Australia and New Zealand, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet they have a fair idea, and therefore they know that this is going to make them money. The fact that they're doing partnerships for zero rating, I would like some Australian viewers to write in. I don't think it's that exceptional. I think that's fairly normal for services to do.
Yes.
Because I've had people write into Daily Tech News Show saying like, oh yeah, we've got all kinds of zero rated stuff in Australia. Shall we move on to Under Surveillance?
No. Wait, yes.
Wait. Green. No. Blue.
Under surveillance.
We got some new premiere dates hot off the presses for Netflix shows. Sense8, the new fiction show by the Wachowski siblings and J. Michael Straczynski of Babylon 5 fame, comes June 5th. Orange is the New Black Season 3 premieres June 12th. What Happened, Miss Simone, a documentary about Nina Simone, comes June 26th. And of course, as you all have been waiting for, Wet Hot American Summer, First Day of Camp, premieres July 17th.
That's a very dense release structure, which makes me, I would love to see the release dates for the other originals leading up to that. Are we entering a world where every other
Daredevil
week...
in April? The thing is, Brian, they're almost releasing a new original series every week.
Well, and
we just don't cover them anymore because it's not a big deal that Netflix is releasing an original series. It's only a big deal when it's a big one like House of Cards.
That to me is an astonishing positive development, man. That's huge.
Yeah, no, they're cranking them out. It's funny. Every time I turn on Netflix, I notice one. I'm like, oh right, I forgot that was an original series that they do now. When you combine like the launches of new shows like Sense8 with the returns like Orange is the New Black Season 3, House of Cards Season 3, like these are the make or break seasons, right? For you in broadcast territory.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, which of the Netflix originals are you deeply into?
I have actually not gotten into too many of them. House of Cards isn't terribly up my alley. Neither is Orange is the New Black. I found it more nerve-wracking than funny. But I am really interested to see Sense8. I'm definitely into the sci-fi thing. But noticing about the release schedule, how you're saying it's so dense, it feels more like a season release schedule. Like, yeah, sure, there's little ones that come out here and there, but it very much feels like okay, here's the fall season, here's the spring season, here's it feels like that kind of release schedule, at least for these big tentpole ones to me from Netflix.
Right on.
It's the summer of hits on Netflix.
I love this next story. Legendary Digital Media and Full Screen are rebooting Electra Woman and Dyna Girl, starring Grace Helbig and Hannah Hart. And it will be a Sid and Marty Krofft, not so much their production, but they'll be producing, man.
They'll be executive producers. I wonder if that's more of a
ceremonial type.
Hey, we needed you to sign off on the intellectual property, or if they'll be advising in some part. It's hard to tell.
It's funny because as a kid, I would see this and I would not understand that there was anything revolutionary about it. It was just yet another show for kids with kids. But of course I grew up, watching my favorite show when I was 5 was Wonder Woman. And so I didn't realize what a kind of pro-feminist message was inherent in this kid's show. I'm sorry, I'm just watching the opening sequence right now. Don't show me, show that. I don't know. I think it's delightful to go back and revisit this territory 30 years later, man.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Hannah Hart and Grace Helbig. I think they're both talented and hilarious. I also was a big fan of Electra Woman and Dyna Girl on the Sid and Marty Krofft Power Hour or whatever it was called. I've got it wrong, but this is a match made in heaven. This is great. And it's a digital series. From what I can tell, they keep referring to it as a digital series. This is not going to go necessarily straight to YouTube, even though these are YouTube stars. I'm curious to see how they distribute it. Is it going to be with like the big new hit on Vessel maybe or something like that? I'm curious to see.
Here's the other thing is I wonder how they're going to write it. Are they going to write it? I suspect that they're going to write it as if it was a brand new property with only a few winks and nods to the original. Like it's got to stand on its own. We live in a world where, for example, we didn't talk about it. Is it Adi Shankar who did the Power Rangers thing? He also did the Venom thing and the Punisher short, where it's like all of them were awesome and gritty and standalone in their own amazing ways, but they happen to be based on previous properties that were beloved for whatever reason. So I think they're going to go for that. If I was going to guess, something that stands alone, whether you have heard of the original series or not.
Alex, Electra Woman, Dyna Girl, or both?
Well, it depends. Is there water involved? Because then you gotta say no to Electra Woman.
That's a dangerous combination.
No, I actually never got into these properties in the first place, so I'm excited to see like something with fresh eyes. Brian always likes to describe, go see the movie first and then go read the book because he'll never be disappointed with either. So yeah, I'm interested to see what these are without really looking into the backstories too much.
Hey, Brian, just to go back to the Netflix release schedule, I looked up real quick the Netflix page where they have all their upcoming releases.
Yeah.
And they've got them listed going back to January. If you see that link in the doc, I threw it down in the under surveillance
Bryce is
section.
on the case. He's clicking like a madman.
It
and
is
he's about to
even
cross. Holy
crazier
cow.
than I thought.
Look at that.
Look at that. 3 in January, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in February, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in March.
Doggone it really quick. As a matter of fact, if you pan up, I just want to give a huge shout out. You were there, Tom, when it happened. One of the actors who was in Richie Rich is a tremendous Scam School fan. Do you remember when we went to go see Planet of the Apes and we worked out that little moment where we could run into that family? That's one of the actors that's in Richie Rich, and it makes me want to go watch Richie Rich right away. Doggone it.
Yeah. And I think that's why, like, some of these are kids, like Richie Rich. Ralphie May is a stand-up comedy special. Better Call Saul in non-U.S. territories is a Netflix show.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And do you suppose they released all the episodes? Do you think there's bootlegs of all the upcoming episodes?
Doing that. It says they're doing episodes weekly there.
Okay.
To
all right.
keep with AMC.
Yeah, smart move
in the U.S. But yeah, it's just, and look at the coming up in 2015 and 2016.
It's huge. All right, look, we got a bunch of awesome letters, so we should plow through what we're watching real quick. We, of course, both watched Hacking the System. We watched Better Call Saul. We'll talk about that in spoiler in time. House of Cards. You texted me saying, how many episodes have you watched? I was like, 2, maybe 3. And you're like, well, I've only done 2. And I was like, all right, I'll stop at 2. And then next thing I see, you've posted episodes 1 through 6.
That was a miscommunication. I was like, I'm on episode 2. And you told me I've watched 3, so I thought, okay, well, I'm good to keep going then because he's ahead of me.
Yeah, well, what ended up happening was Bonnie was like, I don't want to watch one tonight. I'm tired. I was like, all right, I'll watch Birdman. And so I clicked on Birdman, and she's like, what is Birdman? It looks dumb. And then an hour later, we're both watching Birdman, and I'm thinking I'm like, we could have been watching House of Cards this whole time. So I ended up watching all of Birdman, and we could, you watched it, right? We could talk about it.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater. It was great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, for its spoiler in time, we'll watch Birdman. We'll talk about, Birdman, Better Call Saul, and House of Cards. Let's get to oh wait, Alex, anything you've been watching lately? Because I could tell you've got a different set of taste than Brian and I do.
Pretty much I watch everything you guys do. That's why I watch this show. So
Definitely a different set of tastes.
Yeah,
I do not watch any of our own stuff.
Yeah, I'm caught up on Hacking the System, Archer, Arrow, Flash, like Birdman. I did see Birdman, so I'll definitely hang out for that.
Sweet,
awesome, good movie. But yeah, I'm basically caught up on pretty much everything you guys are, except for.
Are you liking this season of Archer? And did you like last season?
I got a kick out of last season, but it did drag in parts. It definitely dragged, and I with Charlene, you can get rid of that. I'm fine without that. But this season, I really do like it. I gotta say, like, I disagree with you there, Brian. I loved the opening episode trope of here's this new shiny place that we've got for you, and psych, it's because it's totally something Cheryl would do. Waste all that money on what turned out to be literally nothing, and just so they could go back to the same set design they had because they're lazy. You know?
Oh wait, yeah, I just realized I did watch the first episode of this season, and I haven't watched it anymore because I'm a terrible person.
No, it's because you actually have a family, unlike Alex and I, who are just sad.
I have a wife. I don't have kids.
I have a wife.
Something. All right, can we take some dispatches from the front?
Oh no, just real quickly on our radar, Chappie. The Neil Blomkamp film comes out March 6th. Okay,
here, on the Twitter, the buzz is very, very positive for Chappie.
So now some dispatches from the front.
Yes, I agree. We should do those dispatches
not under surveillance.
from the front.
Dispatches from the front. And Brian, don't worry. We actually started late, so you're looking at the clock. We actually have like 10 minutes.
Well, I wonder if that'll be enough because we got an awful lot of good emails, including this one right here from Matt, who breaks down for us what he spends on in the UK for licensing fees and such. He says the TV license is £145 annually. That's $223. That seems low, but it's quite nice that all the BBC channels, TV and radio, are advert-free. The iPlayer is superb. It's almost worth it for the kids' TV channels alone. The quality of those programs is really high, and you know the kids are actually learning something most of the time and aren't getting bombarded with ads. BT for fiber broadband, I assume that's a company, 23
that's an
pounds.
ISP.
ISP, £23 a month, 38 megabits down, 10 up, unlimited data, with an additional £17 a month line rental that includes the phone line. Wow, that's a lot for phone. Freeview HD OTA for over-the-air, no monthly fee. I use a Humax Freeview HD DVR box that I bought a few years ago. Total £52 a month, $80 for TV and unlimited fiber broadband. Keep up the good work on the show, Matt. Thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate that, man.
John Jackson writes in and says, I know Brian uses AT&T for his internet connection, but I wonder if he was aware of all the free stuff bundled into the standard We'll Spy on You package that makes the difference between the plans $66 if you have both TV and internet, or $44 if you only have the internet. And he points to a Tech Dirt story, which is actually referring to a GigaOM story that talks about the fact that if you don't want to be tracked, you not only have to pay more, but you also have to pay the activation fee. You have to pay the modem rental fee. And if you get television, you have to pay a high definition channel fee. And you have to pay for HBO, which is apparently bundled in for free if you get the Please Track Me package.
I'm going to say all of that changes nothing. Still happy to pay the extra fees in order to not be spied on. And more importantly, to not set a precedent that it's okay for them to be doing that. I don't need them to know where I go in incognito mode.
No, definitely not.
Hey, man, Mike says, hey, Tom and Brian, listening to Spoiler in Time 59, where Brian's talking about how hard it is to see The Walking Dead. He has a quick tip. I don't have a cable package, just Time Warner Cable for internet. I can still use my Time Warner Cable account to log in to AMC.com to watch the live stream of their channel, even though I don't pay for the channel. It appears their authorization system doesn't differentiate between cable packages, so I could watch Better Call Saul and Walking Dead live with no trouble at all.
Hey, anybody who works for Time Warner Cable, especially in the authorization IT part of the department, just pretend you didn't hear that.
Well, actually, just pretend like you heard it and we only said it because we're good citizens who want to point out.
No, just don't go fix it. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, got it. Okay.
although that's a bug.
Now, well, that's a pretty big bug between having cable and not having cable. I wonder if a lesser bug, for example, having, AT&T Uverse like I have, but not currently having AMC would be noticed, because that's even closer.
Yeah, unless Time Warner Cable allows that, unless that's a kind of a silent feature that they're putting out there. But yeah, Time Warner Cable isn't doing that on purpose.
Yeah,
I think so. But although there are similar things, ESPN, for instance, allows you to authorize the ESPN Watch Live app and watch games that are on channels that you might not get in your package, as long as you pay for whatever basic cables that has ESPN as part of it. So. It depends. I don't know. Maybe AMC allows that to happen. But hey, good for you, Mike. It's probably not going to work on every cable company, though.
Right on.
Alex says, I think Better Call Saul is set later than what you guys thought. In the first episode, when he's ordering flowers for his potential clients, he mentions the expiration date of his credit card is November 04. I think I confused the issue. We were talking about the flashback scene in Spoiler in Time.
Right.
And I guess this is, where was it, Spoiler in Time, or was it in what we were watching? Anyway, apologies if we're responding to a Spoiler in Time episode comment, but there is a flashback scene that is set earlier than the rest of the series.
Right. Although it does beg the interesting question is, when do you think, because I don't know that they've explicitly said.
Late 2004.
Wait, really?
Well, according to this email, I haven't gone and checked the episode, but he's saying that...
No, he says the expiration date on a credit card is 1104.
Which is usually within a couple of years. So.
I always thought it was like 1999, like right around that time, like late 90s. And
Maybe 2002, but I would think 99 would be too early, too far away.
Yeah, interesting. All right. Well, if anyone knows, please tell us. Corey says, hi, Tom and Brian. In the last few episodes, you've been asking people how much they pay for internet. Thought I'd chime in. I've been a cord cutter for 2 years until about 2 weeks ago. He was 50 megabits for $67, including taxes and fees. Now he's 105 megabits for $70, also cable. It says he originally contacted Comcast via support chat to see how he could get his bill lowered. He eventually ended up getting to customer retention, asking about the bundles. And eventually they offered him $3 more, doubled his internet speed, and please, please, please take cable as well. He said, fine, but don't even bother to send me the cable box. They waived the setup fee and the shipping fees and tried to send him the box anyway. He told them, seriously, don't want it. Count me as a metric if you want, but I don't care about cable at all. They offered to waive the monthly box rental fee if I just took the box anyway. Fine. I guess it shows how desperate they are to retain/add cable subscribers in certain markets. Of course, I kept the transcript of the whole thing, so there's no funny business. On the bright side, now there's a much easier way to watch National Geographic's Hacking the System. You should watch it sometime. You're very pleased, boss, Corey. I agree. It's a fine show.
Anthony in San Antonio says, hey guys, love the show. I was pondering on the nature of YouTube and convenience. As an introduction, I'm a 25-year-old second generation cord never. My parents cut the cord before I was born, and I grew up on broadcast and P2P file sharing. I use, in descending order, Netflix, Pluto.tv, Amazon Prime, and the free Hulu. I would say right now, Anthony, that you're already an outlier because your second most used is Pluto.tv, which has a very small user base. But he says, the fact is, I never mastered YouTube when I was younger. As such, I do not use it as media consumption. I use it pretty much only for tutorials or archive videos. Now that I am so stuck in the routine of hands-off viewing, YouTube seems as antiquated to me as DVR, broadcast DVD, or torrents. So Brian and Tom, riddle me this. Am I crazy in thinking we are a few years away from a world where pirated media ripped and uploaded to YouTube would be so inconvenient to seek out and watch that you would be as likely to choose to watch it as you would daytime broadcast television? That content available on YouTube might as well be sitting in a Blockbuster? I promise you this. If Snapchat made a TV and I missed it, I sure as heck wouldn't go try to find it on YouTube.
I think you meant Snapchat TV show, which we had talked about.
I think you're right. Yes and no, Anthony. Obviously, billions of people are watching things on YouTube, so I think you might be alone or in the minority, I should say, in not using YouTube. Although I do think you're right about BitTorrent becoming just sort of a thing. People are like, oh, why would I bother? It's so easy to get these other things. And I do think you're right about YouTube if they don't adapt and change in the future. You may be ahead of the curve on that, but at some point people are going to say, that's too hard to watch. And they have apps, and it's easier to watch. And in fact, that interface that we saw earlier about the Hungarian TV made it look good. But they have to keep up. They have to make it easier to watch, and that's one of the biggest complaints about YouTube. It's a complaint that I have is it's hard to figure out how to find the thing you want to watch. Especially in the mobile interface.
Well, and it's funny because like that's also its greatest asset is discoverability, right? YouTube, and we've talked about this before, like over half the clips that we get on Scam School are people discovering it. They're looking at one thing that's related enough and they click on the next thing. Nick joins the chorus, Tom. There was like 2 or 3 people who sent us the same email essentially saying, hey, Tom and Brian, just wanted to pass along another assignment as one of your bosses and let you know that you should give the BBC show Broadchurch a chance. While I say you should do it before the Fox version comes out, they both have David Tennant as the lead, so it makes it interesting enough to watch both. My opinion is that it's a great murder mystery show with the perfect character development. Keep up the great work. The other emails said, Brian, you're a dad, and it's about the murder of a small girl in a community. You'll definitely cry your eyes out. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, not making me... What about this makes you think that I want...
Don't you want to be, like, horrified and sad?
To this day, I still have not watched Schindler's List. I don't think I ever will.
Well, and I've watched a couple episodes of Broadchurch, and it never sucked me in, but I think previously I was watching them much closer to when David Tennant had been the Doctor, and I just wanted to see him be the Doctor. So maybe I should go back and try it again. I saw his co-star on the Graham Norton show recently, and she was hilarious. So maybe I will give it another shot. But I understand if you don't want to jump in the waters with me.
Right on.
Hey, Jackie Hearn points out that the Wikipedia article, and she can confirm this, says that Better Call Saul takes place in 2002.
Oh, that's confirmed? I wanted it to be a little bit earlier. Mainly because I don't think in 2002 people were still using the horrible video toaster effects that they show in the intro sequence for Better Call Saul. Also, am I mistaken? Are they doing a different song each intro for Better Call Saul?
I noticed that last week. Okay. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a different ditty.
Yeah, well, and I think it's different video as well. I think the only unifying theme is
definitely
like
has been different video
really
every time.
Crappily produced community access television is what it looks like.
Yeah, according to Variety, Better Call Saul takes place in 2002. They have an entire page about the timeline.
Yeah, dude, and I agree with Ken from Chicago. Back in 2002, cable access was still a thing, and I was watching the hell out of it.
I was making it. Well, not in 2002.
That's right.
Alex, Hannah, thank you so much for bearing with us while we plowed through our emails, and thanks for being on the show with us today.
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. I watch you guys all the time, so I'm happy to be on the show now and talk about all this geeky stuff with you. You know.
Heck yeah, man. Well, and thank you very much for. I saw you posted in the chat. Your 25 cents an episode donation means the world to us, sir.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's a couple podcasts that I support, but you guys are more than worth my $1 a month. I should actually talk to my wife and revisit that. You know, she is the accountant, so.
Well, do a cost-benefit analysis for us and get back. Let us know how we're doing. If people want to follow you on Twitter or find Diamond Dialogue or any of the other stuff, where should they go?
I'm on Twitter or just about any other social platform at Tinvec. It's 2 N's, Tinnvec, or samething.com gets you to my website and have stuff about Diamond Dialogue on there. And yeah, it's pretty easy to find me. If you just Google Tinvec, you'll find me. It's easy.
You'll find him. Go find him. Go follow him. Go watch Diamond Dialogue. And of course, go to Cordkillers.com. That is the place where we are every second of the day virtually. And you can find us live on diamondclub.tv on Mondays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. You can email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. And we will be back next week to kill some cords.
Hey, guys. Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
Unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
Let's go.
it's up to you.
Wow.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.